I know you're watching me from wherever you are. And I also know amongst you guys, we have people who aspire to become extraordinary masters of ceremonies, and most especially public speakers, to be more precise, presenters, right? Radio, TV hosts, all of that, hosting concerts and all of that. Now, what makes you different, apart from you just knowing the basics of presentation? It is adding your authentic self to your presentation. Making a difference between classic presentation, which has to do with the art of speaking rhythmically and artistically, and of course, making sense, informing, educating, and entertaining. And the evolution of that, which has made many people today become performers. Strike the difference, draw the line, and tell yourself who you want to become, or be all of that at the right moment. My name is Steve Fonkam. I am an international master of ceremony, TV and radio host. I am a voice actor, an actor in his debuts, and of course, a journalist, sports reporter. You're welcome to Hall of Fame with Darling Lyonga.
Oh, Steve, it's an honor having you, I tell you. You're welcome on the show.
I'm elated to be your guest.
It's the way you talk for me. It's your presentation. It's your accent. It's your mastery of the English language is something else. It's impeccable.
Thank you so much, darling. You are darling, and to be very honest, the job you do on this show and on Dash, and what you started doing before getting to Dash, I have been seeing it. I've been following you closely, and trust me, you're daring. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
You always dare to be different, and you perfect yourself at the job. And trust me, you're exceptional.
Oh.
Besides, your presentation is even more beautiful than your person.
Oh.
Means you're very beautiful, and you can only produce beautiful things.
Stop making me blush.
You deserve it. Trust me, you really work hard.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
So I want to know more about you. Let's talk about your place of birth, your childhood, your family. How many siblings do you have?
Okay, I will simply say that Steve Fonkam, Christian Steve Bernard Fonkam, those are my names, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Douala at La Cantini.
Oh.
That's what I was told, and that's what is on my birth certificate. And I grew up in early stages, like first 2 years. I was in the north region of Cameroon. I think we were in Garoua.
Okay.
My mom was a soldier, so
Wow.
yeah, she was there. When she took her retirement, she decided to retire because she was not having many children after that. After my elder sister and my brother, then me, and she was pregnant for my younger sister and her twin, because she had.
Wow.
I'm in the middle of two twins.
Okay.
My elder brother is a twin. Unfortunately, we lost his twin brother, very early, who was called Bernard. That's why I had the name. He was called Steve, sorry. That's why I had the name. And my younger sister was a twin as well. And we lost a brother who was called Bernard.
Wow.
Yeah, so I am kind of
the combination of the two.
of the two. So mom had to leave, and she became a teacher at a trainer, vocational trainer at CNPS school back in Bamenda.
Okay.
So I grew up in Bamenda. A whole part of my life in Bamenda and Boya. But I am a Francophone 100% by origin and 100% Anglophone by culture, by upbringing. And I'll explain this duality about me. My father is a Bagante native. He's a Bagante man from the west region of Cameroon. And my mom is Sawa from Bonindale here. So they call that a cocktail Molotov because they have Bagante people who like enjoyment and soft life. And Douala people, Nyanga people as well.
Stress-free.
Banalova, coming together. And then I was raised as an Anglophone. From pre-nursery, when I had to start going to school, we had to go to Bamenda since she was transferred to CNPS there. I told her she was a vocational trainer, she was a teacher. And a multitasker, she's a queen mother. Oh, I love you.
Oh.
You know, and she raised us up in the Anglo-Saxon way. So I grew up in Bamenda, went to school there, primary school, you know, and then nursery, primary school, and then all of that. Then I went to the Southwest. Even when we were schooling in Sase and all of the schools that I went to, the Southwest, we were still living in Bamenda until 2001 when my mother passed away and everything changed. It was for a short while the dark clouds in our lives. It was a moment of transition and God had to intervene. And at that moment, until a certain point, 2000, like 8 years after, we couldn't live in Boya anymore, nor in the Anglophone zone because we had moved and then we were at school was living with my mother's friends and stuff like that. After going through a dark moment. So, at one point in my life, I had to come and relocate here because it's where family is. My maternal, paternal family, stuff like that.
Okay.
So I am 100% Anglophone by upbringing and 100% Francophone by origin.
Okay.
But it's always said that the education of a man makes the man. So I'm Anglophone.
Oh, that's
well,
true.
I'm Cameroonian.
Cameroonian the name. Now let's you've been talking about your mom, nothing or very little about your father. Why?
To be very honest, my father is such a great guy. I decided I finally knew who my father was. And he's such an amazing human being with his flaws and who messed up a lot, with the way he handled his relationships. And my mom, he had kids with my mom. He had us with my mom, but my mom was not married to him. And I realized that he was already married and he had several women. And my dad, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm doing my count. Dad, I'm sorry if you did your own count and the number is not the same, but he's got more than 21 kids with different women. So, to the best of my knowledge.
Was your mom aware of
sure,
all
all of these women finally became aware. Whether before or after, they became aware. Whether they agreed to this or not, they became aware. And he was unjust at some point, but at some point I also think that they know what was going on. So I discovered a lot of things. I don't talk much about my father because I did not really spend time with him. I did not grow up with him. You understand? So I didn't have that father figure. My mom was my mother figure and my father figure. Nonetheless, she did not talk us out of knowing our dad. On the contrary, she was very loving and she always made us to know we have a dad. Right? Good. And we later on met her dad and we're vibing together.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did he ever at some point come looking for you when you...
Sure, Daddy always came. We knew that we had a dad. Why? Because he came once in a while. Like we'll call for Pidgin, we'll call it horoscope, Papa. You understand? I did not understand why my dad was. I just thought that's how dads were. They were mythical, so they just came once in a while. I loved when Daddy came around. Let me tell you why. Because we'll eat on the table, all of us on that day, and then I'll sit by my dad because I look like I'm his photocopy, physically, and then Mom will sit by Dad, and I'll sit on the other side. And I was, they were petting me. I was the guy. I almost thought I was the heir because I was the last boy, Yeah. And my younger sister was coming after me, but she was a girl. I was the last boy. I looked like that. And so they gave me the same pieces of meat I ate from his plate. And I was the man of the hour with power when Dad came. So I felt good. Though it never lasted for too long. It was once in a while. I knew we had a dad. But I didn't know what a dad was. So what I knew was the love of a mother. And I did not complain because that's what I knew. So I didn't know whether there was something else existing apart from that. But it was so fantastic. Mommy was grounding. I'm now a father. It's so good to be a father. It's so beautiful to be a father.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Growing up as a kid, your father was not present all the time. Now you are a grown man, you have your family, you have your child. I mean, I see the way you talk about this child of yours. So much, So what is the one thing that you've promised yourself that you will not do when you have your own family?
I promised myself a couple of things that unfortunately have not been respected today, and it's not my fault.
Oh.
So those things, it has violated, it has broken something in my spirit, but by the grace of God, I think it's never going to be the same. For example, I promised myself that I'm not going to have a child with any other woman apart from the woman I'm going to marry and live all my life. But it did not work because I actually engaged, I fianced a woman. I went to her family, and they gave me the list. And later on, COVID came, and the family never wanted us to continue because they wanted a bigger party than just having 50 people and do something small and get married and all of that. Then we had a child, okay? And 3 weeks after, she called off the relationship after a quarrel. That to me, I don't see the reason why we actually separated. That's it. We all have fights. But it so happened that I have a child with a woman with whom I'm not going to build my life. So I promised myself that, and today the contrary has happened.
Yeah.
My fault, maybe shared faults, maybe our fault, maybe, a lot of things. But however be the case, that promise cannot work anymore. So I feel like not making promises to myself. You understand what I'm saying? But I feel like or maybe just letting God take control and maybe listening to the voice of God. It doesn't mean I will not ask God things, but about promises that I will never, 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 I don't have control over circumstances.
Okay.
Right? Not total control anyways.
Okay. Now you, from every indication, you're a very strong man. You handle the situation very well. Let's talk about your sisters, especially the last one. How did she handle it?
She was the moment she heard, she started being conscious, like she saw other people and everything. She wanted her dad. That was a fact. And when mom passed away, she wanted a father figure. She wanted her dad. She started telling us, I want to see dad, I want to do this, I want to, And she was already a teenager. She looked for her dad herself.
Oh.
At that sometimes, I'll say this. Papa, excuse me. Ton enfant est devenu célébrité. On pose des questions de ça. Bon, bref, je t'aime beaucoup. We used to go and look for our dads at some public joints called circuit. Right? He used to hang out and just enjoy his life with people, a couple of friends, and it might not be honorable according to ethics and upbringing, right? That's why we say at the end of the day, this man is our dad. And I wouldn't get into the religion and everything, We honor him. At the same time, we told him our truth, within the family circle. So to see him, they told us, people, our mother's friends and their children and stuff like, we know your dad. If you want to see him, you go there now, Bridge La Joie, you see him, go to this CP, So we started looking for him there. One wanted to see our dad, our younger sister. We went there. And when he saw us, oh wow, my kids have come to look for me. He's going to post everybody. He moves out. Even if he was sitting in the midst of women, he moves out, gets to talk with us, let's sit somewhere, have a drink, discuss and stuff like, okay, let's make sure we have another rendezvous or meet. But where are we going to meet? Are you going to his house where there's another woman there? But today, I've lived in that house. And Mama Agat is such a blessing. You understand? So I took it differently. My younger sister really needed her father, and he was present for her. They meet in town. He's going to talk with her, advise her, and everything. And up till today, she's very attached to my dad.
Okay.
Very attached.
Now, when your mother passed away, who became the breadwinner of the family?
Well, the breadwinner, I would say Madam Undu Marilyn Dinka. I love you so much, Mama. And you know it. I promised you a message when I was still a child. I remember that promise. And if it's not the message I promised you, I'll give you something better. I trust God for that. May give you long life. Madam Undum actually, we were supposed to be street kids. When mom died, I was in Sasson. I was in school. And it was a very hard episode for me. Mom died, and I knew it. I felt it. Because she was sick. When we were leaving Bermuda to come for first time, September, mom was sick. She had paralysis. Then it was okay. I think mom almost died home. My mom got paralyzed. And daddy had never been scared. Okay. My mom got paralyzed. And the parlor, I remember we were watching TV. And all of a sudden, she had stiff neck. I was playing all around, jumping it. And I realized that she was not moving. I said, Mom. It started with memory loss. Then I woke her up. I said, Mom. And when she came back to herself, she called me my brother's name. She knew. I said, no, it's Ben. She took time to notice me. I started crying. And then after she got stiff. And after when she came back, she remembered me and she said, call for Puppet. And she went to her room. And when I looked for my other sister, I called for her and they came in. I called for the other people and she locked the door to the room. They spent an hour, 30 minutes. When my sister came out, she spoke to nobody else. But later on, she told us that mommy gave her instructions that if I die now, this is what you're supposed to do. These are the documents for the insurance. These are the documents for the land. These are. I had, up to today, I have goosebumps. When I left for school, I went to Sassy that year. My first time, I was not at peace. Until mommy died. And they kept lying to me that it was okay. But when my brother couldn't lie to me anymore because he was going to see her in the hospital and come back, it became something else. When we left school, sorry about this. When we left school, went to one of our friends. I won't call the name now for just to protect her as well. So we went to a friend who had to house us while every other thing preps for the stuff happened. So after we had buried mom and everything, we came back to live with her, right? To finish the school year. But when we finished the school year, we returned home a few months after. What happened was she had been transferred to Yaoundé. It's just to talk to you about who was the breadwinner. She had been transferred to Yaoundé. So what happened is that during the third term, while we're waiting, she had kids. Her son was at BHS. She made her son to go directly to Yaoundé and she left us there. So for months, we helped as collateral security because she owed rent and a couple of other things. Just opposite, for those who know the former supermarket in Mboya, opposite. So that's how we stayed there for a while. Thank God that we held hostage because if they had told us to go, we would have gone to Douala, where our family was living in the kind of state they were living and all of that. And what happened was that we had no food for 3 weeks. We fed on Bele. That's when I discovered Bele. Thank you, Mickey. He was a normal small garagist in Boya. But Mickey now is a big boss. He has his own garage, pimps vehicles, he has built his house. Bro, I'm so happy for you. Mickey saw us, were playing like on the football pitch or something, and then he just liked the way we are. I used to wear sleepers that cost 2,500 back in the days, new era. But I got to a point where I couldn't afford 250 francs for sleepers. We were living on Bele. He took us there. Even during rainy seasons, I climbed on trees. My brother, because I'm physically more imposing than my brother, and I told him that I prefer to go up because I think I'm strong enough. And you be down. So we cut mangoes, fed on Bele and everything. I gave my elder sister and all that. My elder sister almost went mad. She was walking on the streets. She didn't want to accept proposals of people who wanted her to sex for money, to do prostitution. And then this woman popped up one day, Madame Undu Merilin Dinka. She saw my elder sister walking to the house under a scorching sun with a lycée uniform. Shabby as you can't even describe it. And then she was like, no. Tata Shushu begin this because she used to call her Tata Shushu. Pupet. And then she saw her and she couldn't make her out. And she explained to her who she was. And then they broke into tears. Started saying that, Mama, where's mommy? That question just triggered tears. Long story short, from that moment she said, I want to see your brothers. When they held you guys hostage, we have to negotiate. We need to get you guys out of there. I am now fine. That was a woman my mother helped. So that woman showed up miraculously. And from that moment, I ate my first arrow as strikers. And I saw tears become my eye. We don't call that strike of the year and I smelled the arrow. But for about 3 months, I ate arrow. My God, Jesus, I felt alive again. From that moment, our story changed.
How are you unable to hate your father after everything you've been through?
Well, I did hate him for a while, but I always like to draw my conclusions myself. But a lot of things I realized made me realize that he made wrong choices, but was not a wicked person. The fact that he had so many women at one point in time was the wrong choices he made. My dad was very wealthy. But all of a sudden, when they switched from, in a usual time, when they started switching back into Pope years' time, to the computer system, many people lost a lot of things. My dad lost a lot of things. My dad was no more that rich dude. You get it? Who was bragging about. So now handling all these women was a whole problem. I discovered many other things about my dad that was really unfair. I have one of my half-sisters who hate him so much with a passion, but over time I've tried to reconcile the matter to the family. But it doesn't mean that we have to embrace him like Papa all the time. You get it? So individually, they would have their own reservations or their own distance. But I just realized too that if a man, if you don't love a man, you will not be able to give him 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids. And I can hate him totally because it was not totally bad. Because even when our parents and our aunts are telling us about how he used to take care of the family and send it right up to our uncles, he sent them to school until they refused school, gave them money for business, they refused, because he had money. You understand? So you begin to realize that he was not a wicked man, but he made so many wrong decisions. So what I would rather want to do is not to commit the same errors like my dad.
Now you said something that you are here to understand how your mothers back then will give birth to 8, 6 children for a man like your dad. Yes, let's use it for an example. Now let's come back to today's generation, today's society. A lot of young women are going through this.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who is a victim, what would you tell these women?
Now, there's nothing you can tell these women for them to understand, if at all they still see. It depends on how they see the things. Let me explain things to you. We are in a context, an African context, where polygamy is permitted, right? But now, many people are not officiating the relationship with other women they have. Because you guys did not agree on polygamy in the beginning, and most women will not allow that, he will now have several lives with other women. Now, this is the principle. He's going to be an official polygamous person. In the case where he takes care of those families and those women. And those women will not say it's over. Because guess what? Most women who are stuck in this situation, or just say some women who are stuck in this situation, are actually stuck in this situation with married men who take good care of them and their children, who give them the love they want to see from a man. But the problem is you're with another woman's husband. So they are caught up in a dilemma. It's going to be philosophy of feminism or philosophy of ethical living and morals against her experience. What does she do? You get? So she feels like she's stuck in that stuff. That's why many people advise that women should be financially autonomous. So that if you're stuck because of the financial apport he brings, you can take care of that and have more liberty to decide whether you want to be in or out. But if you're stuck at the level of the emotions that you receive, then that's a more crucial one, because even with the money, not everyone will treat you and make you feel that way. And those feelings cannot be bought with money. And that's why I say you cannot, that is something, is an advice you cannot give to someone who is banking on the emotions that they receive. That is going to be very difficult to talk that person out, because if you're taking away that emotion, some other person should be able to give it. And after she must have tried many relationships, it's sometimes unfortunate that it's someone who is unable to be yours legally that gives you what you need emotionally. It becomes a dilemma. The only advice I'll probably give at that point is, please put this in prayer. If your God that you serve listens to you, he will, enable you to have, the man that will reciprocate that emotion and make you feel that way.